A Grammy is supposed to mean you made it. The nights without sleep, the years of doubt, the sacrifices no one sees, all of it finally pays off. You stand on that stage, holding the most prestigious award in music, and, for a moment, you feel untouchable. But for some of the greatest artists in history, that moment wasn't the beginning of forever. It was the beginning of everything falling apart. These are the stories the industry doesn't like to talk about. When Whitney Houston stepped into the 1994 Grammys, she wasn't just winning, she was dominating. I Will Always Love You had already become one of the biggest songs ever recorded. Her voice, untouchable, effortless, historic. But behind the scenes, things were changing. Her marriage to Bobby Brown became increasingly turbulent, and over time, Whitney began struggling with substance use. By the early 2000s, the difference was visible. At the 2001 tribute concert for Michael Jackson, fans noticed something was off. Her appearance, her voice, her energy. Still, she tried to come back. In 2009, she released I Look to You, and there were moments, glimpses, of the Whitney the world fell in love with. But the years had taken a toll. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found unresponsive in her room at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. She was 48. The next night, at the Grammys, the world mourned her. A voice that once felt indestructible had quietly been fighting a battle for years. By the time Michael Jackson released Thriller in 1982, he wasn't just a star, he was global. 13 Grammys. The best-selling album in history. A cultural impact that changed music forever. But success at that level comes with a cost. Michael built Neverland. Ranch a private world, unlike anything anyone had seen. Maintaining it required enormous spending. At the same time, legal battles, including the 1993 settlement and the 2005 trial, placed both financial and emotional pressure on him. By the late 2000s, reports showed he was carrying hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, despite owning valuable assets like music publishing rights. In 2009, he prepared for a major comeback. This Is It 50 shows in London. He was rehearsing, focused, ready. But on the 25th of June 2009, Michael Jackson died at age 50 due to acute intoxication from medications administered by his physician. After his death, his estate would recover financially, but Michael himself never got to see that comeback. On one night in 2008, Amy Winehouse did something extraordinary. 5 Grammy wins in a single night. She accepted them from London. Unable to travel due to visa issues, smiling, emotional, unforgettable. Her album Back to Black was raw, honest, deeply personal, but it reflected a real struggle: substance abuse, toxic relationships, public pressure. By that time, Amy's life was already unstable, with canceled shows and widely reported struggles. On the 23rd of July 2011, she was found dead in her home in London. The cause? Alcohol poisoning. She was 27. In just 2 albums, she left behind a legacy that continues to influence artists around the world. 1999. Lauryn Hill made history. 10 Grammy nominations, 5 wins, including Album of the Year. She was 23. Her album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, wasn't just successful, it was defining. But after that moment, she stepped away from the mainstream spotlight. In later interviews, Lauryn spoke about the pressures of fame, the expectations, and the need to protect her identity and beliefs. She continued to perform and release music, but never followed up with another traditional studio album on that scale. Her legacy remains powerful, but her story shows that even massive success doesn't always lead to a path someone wants to stay on. In 1991, Sinéad O'Connor won a Grammy, but she refused to accept it. A year later, on live television, she made a protest that would change her career forever. During a performance on Saturday Night Live, she tore a photo of Pope John Paul II and said, "Fight the real enemy." The backlash was immediate. Radio stations distanced themselves. Public criticism was intense. But decades later, many would recognize that she had been speaking out about real issues long before they were widely acknowledged. Sinéad continued making music and speaking openly about her struggles. She passed away in 2023 at age 56. Her story isn't just about controversy. It's about the cost of speaking out before the world is ready to listen. Scott Joplin never won a Grammy. He couldn't have. The awards didn't exist yet. But his story might be the earliest version of this pattern. He became the defining god. Figure of ragtime with Maple Leaf Rag, becoming one of the first million-selling pieces of sheet music. But his true ambition was different. An opera called Tremonisha. He believed it would be his masterpiece. It wasn't recognized during his lifetime. The performance failed. Opportunities disappeared. And in 1917, Scott Joplin died in a state hospital at age 48. Decades later, his work was rediscovered. His music returned to popularity. His opera was finally performed properly. And in 1976, he received a posthumous Pulitzer Prize. Recognition came just too late. What do all these stories have in common? Not just fame, not just success, but something deeper. Every one of these artists created something real, something lasting. But success didn't protect them. It didn't shield them from pressure, from struggle, or from consequences. The Grammy stage shows you the peak, but it doesn't show you what comes after. And sometimes, what comes after is the part that matters most.